So this is about the skill called the last three or it used to be called the last three pathologies, and now it's called three spiritual diseases.
Okay.
Now, what's that background noise? Who's got that?
Michael, is that in your apartment? Yeah. So he's on mute now.
Okay. All right. One thing that might help everybody is to go to the hub.
Yeah. Go on there now.
And then go to the lesson page for that skill, three spiritual diseases.
Skill 9.
Yeah, skill 9. And the three spiritual diseases are conditions, deformity, and negative beingness. And when you cure one of these, the way it feels like your usual cure. You know, you cure it and you feel better, and you get lighter, and it's good, and it just may not be gone.
Mm-hmm.
You may have started a process, like for example, let's say you're curing a deformity in your gravitational body, and it might have been there for eons, and you get a signal, I've cured it, and you get this big smile, like everybody. For example, why don't we just test everybody? Do I have any deformities in any of my bodies?
I guess yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, now you just say, I'm removing all deformities from all my bodies. This is like a typical superficial starting, like you're starting to work on it kind of cure,
Mm-hmm.
So now, see if you get a signal. Did I cure any of the deformities?
Yes.
Yes.
And so you cured them just by accessing that they were there. Sometimes just knowing something is there, you'll start curing it without even saying, I'm now curing anything. You'll just start to cure it.
Yes.
It's a knee-jerk reflex to cure things when you discover them. So,
yeah.
And it's possible that you actually corrected a deformity that will never probably go back into being what it was, like it will never be deformed again. You may have done a permanent cure just now, because it can be very hard to deform a gravitational body. Like, gravitational bodies can get, they don't get deformed very easily. So there has to be like some enormous event usually that happens to affect your gravitational body.
Mm.
Although maybe we should test that. Can minor occurrences in this lifetime cause deformity in my gravitational body?
No.
Yeah, I get no on that too.
I'm getting no.
Yeah, so like if your father beat you when you were a kid, it might affect your physical body, but it's not going to affect your gravitational body.
Mm-hmm.
Like next lifetime, you're probably not going to even remember much about your father in this lifetime, or you may not even have any trauma that you take into your next life from your father. So,
Phew.
Yeah.
Tobias, what's an example of something that would affect your gravitational body?
Well, for one thing, let's ask, a lot of the deformities that people get in their gravitational body, did over 50% of all of those things that have happened to all particles happen before they arrived on the first dimension? See, I get yes on that. I tested all this stuff like years ago. That's how these lessons came about. You know, people told me things, and then I checked and asked more questions. But what did you get, Michael?
I'm getting that it would take more some kind of like repetitive psychological pattern to deform a gravitational body that over a long period of time. But I'm not clear about it, which is like what an example would be, which is why I asked you. Originally I would have thought that physical beatings over a period of time could do it, but you're saying no, so I'm just wondering what.
Well,
I get that the strength the nature of it may change, but it does not really affect the working of the gravitational body.
when you were on the zero dimension, you were a subatomic particle. So you didn't have a physical body, and nobody could beat you. But what could happen is you could fall into like a wormhole and come out on the other side of the universe. And that, let's test, could that affect your gravitational body's functioning?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be a very, very extreme experience. And also, you have to realize that the physical body that human beings have is actually a buffer. It's a buffer zone that receives experiences so that they don't get to the gravitational and spiral bodies. And it always looks like disease comes from the gravitational and spiral bodies, because like your gravitational body will go out and get herpes and bring it back. But you have to realize it's doing that because it wants to. It's not because like there's some force in your life that's affecting it, although, well, this is a very complicated discussion, but of course that's what this skill is about. It's very complicated stuff. Like, if a person has a bad time, let's say their business is falling to pieces, or they're breaking, like Anna was talking about how she was breaking up with her significant other, and she finally got him sort of like out of the house, and they kind of completed the breakup, and she immediately got an outbreak of oral herpes. And that was because those codes got activated in that moment. Like the feeling that she needed herpes got all the way down into her physical body. But that doesn't mean that her spiral and gravitational bodies were affected by the breakup. It means that they were responding to the way her etheric body was affected by the breakup. Because your etheric body is where you feel things. Most feel, that there's something that the Christian scientists say that's interesting. They say that there's no sensation in matter. And they're actually right about that, because most sensation happens in your etheric body. So when you feel like if you cut yourself and you go, oh God, that feels terrible, that's actually the sensation of the cut is actually in your etheric body. Also, like when you die, you lose 7 of your bodies and keep 5 of them. And your etheric body is one of the bodies that you lose. There was something, they did these experiments where they weighed, I don't know why would somebody agree to this, I don't know, but they weighed people as they were dying. And they discovered that people, at the moment of their death, they lost a tiny amount of weight. So somebody got the idea that that was their soul.
Yeah,
You know,
that
they,
was what it used to be.
they thought it was their immortal soul leaving their body, you know. But actually it wasn't. It was just their etheric body was dying. The etheric body is actually the second most dense body. And it weighs something. It doesn't weigh much, but it, you know, it's like when you look at somebody's aura, what you're seeing is a part of their etheric body. And the etheric body is also big. It's like a lot bigger than your physical body. But the part that weighs the most is right around and inside of your physical body. And the other, you know, the rest of it is like goes way up above you and maybe below you too, and it doesn't weigh very much at all. But it might be more important than the part that does weigh, you know, a decent amount. So, I don't know, am I talking too much here? I get a feeling like we're not maybe testing enough.
I don't know.
It's interesting. I like it.
Yeah, these are just all things that I picked up piecemeal all from testing various things over the years. But what we're really supposed to be doing here is getting into like what makes you sick. So, like, I want you to look at something. Look under the conditions pathology. It says realities clearing, realities conditions.
Mm-hmm.
It's under R under that.
Yes.
And all it is this really, really small, tiny lesson. Access, it says, listen to this, it says access number of desirable realities. Then access those realities. Do you know that you could spend the rest of your life doing this lesson?
Yes.
For example, to go back to Michael, ask this question, okay? Here's a question for you to test. Is it a desirable reality for me to give my heart to one woman and spend the rest of my life loving and serving her? And see what you get on that. Do you get a signal?
I get a no.
And what about Greg? What do you get?
Is it desirable?
Is it
Is it a reality? I got
a
it.
desirable reality? Would that be a desirable reality?
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
What about Ross? What do you get for you?
For me,
See, you're...
again no.
Yeah, but maybe that's because you already did that, and maybe you're still in that relationship even though the person is dead.
right.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, I think so. Oh,
I have to tell you a story about Fanny's sister, real briefly. I don't know, Michael, I don't know how much you can get out of this. I want to tell this because I think maybe this will be good for you to hear about this, but for one thing, this is something you already know about. Although you don't know Franny's sister, but you've seen other people like this. But another thing is that it's from the woman's point of view, and maybe you're not going to relate to it very well. But I'll tell it anyway. I'll try to make it short. Freddie's sister, Dee, had a boyfriend, steady boyfriend, from the time she was 12 until her husband died.
12. Well,
She started having a steady boyfriend when she was 12, and when she would break up with one, within days she had another one, within a day or two, or maybe even immediately. What is that?
that's Roselle's phone.
yeah.
Oh, so
Excuse me.
So there was no time that she was ever without a significant other in her life, like some guy who was going steady with her and wouldn't go with anybody else. And Ross, go on mute, would you? Can you go on mute, Ross? And Ross, go on mute. Greg, tell Ross to go on mute. Would you take care of this, please?
Oh, she's off. Now she's back. Okay.
Greg, please, thanks for helping with the noise reduction. You've been doing great in these meetings, and please continue with that. It's really helps.
Okay.
I forget what I was talking about when I start yelling at somebody.
It's not going with another guy right away.
Okay. Now, I'm watching Dee now. It's been 5-6 years since he died. And I don't think that Dee is ever going to have another significant other. And that's the end of the story. I think that, she's just, he was it, okay? She found this guy, and she was with him for 25 years. He's gone now, and that's it for her. She does not want to find somebody else. It's like she still lives inside of his memory. Now, Ross, does that feel like you?
Yes, I think so.
Here, now test this question. Is that dysfunctional?
Is that dysfunctional? I get no.
Greg, what do you get? You get no? Or yes?
Yes and no. I mean, it's a, I get yes and no.
Okay. Her father, on the other hand, he was married to his wife till she died. He only had one wife, and she died. And after a few years, he got a girlfriend, and he's had a series of girlfriends. He's had the last one for about 10 years. He's 94. And he has a girlfriend who lives down the street, and they spend a lot of time together. So it doesn't necessarily run in the family. So Michael, what do you make of these things that I'm saying? Do you get anything out of this?
Well, I don't want to answer whether it's dysfunctional, because what I'm doing right now is working on not judging or assessing what other people do.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit, even though I tested no that that's what I desire in my life, it does remind me a little bit of, I've been married once, and the marriage didn't work out, and when I got married, I considered it to be for life.
Right.
I waited until I was 44 years old to get married, and when I finally did it, I did it because I decided I was going to do this, and it was a lifelong commitment, and my wife turned out to not either feel that way or she didn't after 4 years, and so I started to feel like that was the one time that I did that. And I'm not sure that I will get married again, but there's a difference. So in that way, it's similar to what you're describing. I actually have had that feeling, but there's a difference between marriage and having significant others and having relationships and having sex and having lovers. And for me, it would be dysfunctional to say, well, because my one marriage didn't work out, I'm not going to ever have another significant other. In fact, I have another significant other. So for me, it's sort of a gray area. But I do actually understand what you're describing Dee's reality is. I do understand it, because part of me does feel that way regarding my marriage.
You mean, like, in a certain sense, you're still committed to this woman?
Right. Right. I mean, not, and I'm not withholding myself sexually from others, or I'm not withholding myself relationship-wise from others. I have another relationship now, which is significant, which is serious.
Uh-huh.
But I do have a sense that with her, that was my one and only real marriage, and it didn't work out. But even though we're not physically together, I still feel, in a way, that I'm still married to her. Even though we're not legally married, I still feel like that was my decision, and I'm still there with her, even though we're not physically together. So in that way, I think I can understand what you're describing these experiences.
Sure.
Yeah. So is that desirable, or do you have some other desire? By the way, desirable for me, when I answered that before, is that it's not just could I do that, could I have a relationship?
No, it said it's desirable.
But it's desirable. And I said, is it desirable to have a relationship with a lot of people? Well, it's one thing I could, but is it desirable? So I look for really desirable, not just whether it's possible.
Well, it depends on what you mean by relationship, because it's definitely desirable for me to have relationships with a lot of people, but is it desirable for me to have sex with them?
Yeah, what is sex, and what kind of relationship, to what depth, and,
Right. I mean, that we have to be careful about generalizing. We use general words like relationships or partners or love partners.
Right.
Those are general terms. So we have to get a little more tune in more finely.
Well, it's always that way when you test, because what you're testing, and even the words you use, may not be exactly what the other person is testing in their mind or in their being, their perspective. They have some. So you really have to go with your own test and keep testing and be really clear all the way. I tend to go off on this, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah. So. So was there something to test there about?
Well, Michael, have you ever test if you're in negative beingness?
Test if I am in negative beingness?
Yeah, ask, am I in negative beingness, and see if you get a signal.
I am, yes. Yeah.
I asked some other people to test about you about that, and some of them got yes, some of them got, they were sort of getting yes, no.
Well, I'm getting a yes. I'm actually getting yes and no, but there's so much yes. Let's put it this way. I have much more negative beingness than is desirable for me right now. And to me, so I'm saying yes, I am, because for me, what's the opposite? Positive beingness?
No, the opposite isn't positive beingness.
Okay, what's the opposite of negative beingness?
There isn't any opposite. It's just, you're either well. It's negative beingness is a disease, so you're either well. Okay. It's like there's no opposite of cancer. You just don't have it.
Okay, well, I would have to say that I have a lot of negative beingness. I'm not well. I would say that, yes.
I have, originally when I was going to do this class, I thought the class was going to be about another skill called Unravel the Pathological Matrix. And what you're talking about here is the pathological matrix. It's that you may not be like in negative beingness like officially the way certain people are. You may have, it may be sort of like something that you go into when you're under stress. That's maybe not a good way to put it, but like the failure of this marriage, like you're still dealing with it, let me just use myself as an example. That's probably the easiest thing to do. I was with Chrissy. You probably know Chrissy. There's a woman named Chrissy. Okay. For for the benefit of our viewers who don't know her, you don't have to know her. She was a woman named Chrissy. But anyway, I was with Chrissy for 15 years, and when that fell apart, which it did, it was too much stress in the relationship. I did not go into negative beingness because I remained connected to her and continued to love her. And actually, see, what happened with you is that you were trying to do that. Like, you were trying to keep your love that's yours, and nobody can take that away from you. Like, she can't break up with you, and that means that she takes your love away. Like, loving someone, if you love somebody, you're not going to be in negative beingness because you will give and sacrifice and make the right choices and do all kinds of really terrific things. And that's how I managed to keep myself viable, and which ended up in us producing this web college and creating the ministry and all the things that we've done. I kept myself viable. I didn't go into negative beingness. Like, I didn't try to go on as though it hadn't happened. Live my life as I wasn't trying to live my life as though it hadn't happened. And that thing that it might be good for you to create another relationship, but it is probably not going to keep you viable to have sex with multiple people, because what's happening, I'll tell you a story. When we were on the Meher Baba Center, and we were talking to Kitty Davy, who was one of Meher Baba's disciples. And we were talking about having sex with multiple partners or whatever, something like that. It was about sex and, promiscuity and so on. And Kitty was laughing. She was laughing. She was saying, you guys, she said, you don't realize, she said, that when you have sex with somebody, you're picking up stuff from them. And which is the thing that's wrong. The thing that's really horrible about rape is that, women get raped and 20 years later they get cancer because the guy who raped them put the cancer into. And see, here's a place where an experience in this lifetime can affect your gravitational and spiral bodies, because it's often true that rapists, when they're raping somebody, their gravitational body grabs the person's gravitational body and injects things into it, or the woman's gravitational body absorbs things from it, or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how it works. But, so they're transferring a disease to the person. And by the way, there was some guy who Franny got into a fight with a long time ago. It was a physical fight. This guy was trying to push his way into one of our courses. It was very early in my career of giving seminars. And Franny was at the door, and she didn't let him in. And she wrestled him into the elevator, and downstairs he tore her dress off in the process. And she got him to the front of the building and threw him out. And when that happened, he injected her with things that I don't know if she's ever removed. Like, she got things from this guy. And when she came back, she wasn't triumphant like she should have been triumphant. I mean, she saved my ass. She really did, because he would have destroyed that course. And the course went very well after that without him. But something happened to her, and I could see it. She changed. And I didn't know what to do about it because I didn't have this ability that we have now to check and look for things. I mean, Franny may have removed those things years ago that she got from him. I don't know, but...
Can that be treated?
What?
Can that be treated like a trauma?
What, Ross?
Can that be treated like a trauma?
No. You have to access.
No.
You have to access what got in. Like if somebody.
I removed it.
Oh, good. Okay. Like if somebody injects cancer into you, it's not a trauma.
Yes, you're right.
You could treat the. If you traumatize yourself as a result of being raped, you can remove that. But that's.
Yeah.
There's usually a lot of things to remove from one incident. If the incident has the potential to cause a lot of things. Anyway, I don't know how God, it's so easy to just veer off in these discussions. But anyway, the point is that Kitty was saying, like she was laughing and she was saying, you're picking up your astral body. See, that's what the way she talked about it was your astral body. But the astral body is actually a composite body of other bodies. It's made up of usually people's etheric, gravitational, maybe their emotional body, and so on.
I suppose it's like hitting yourself over the head constantly.
Yeah. I've never been so sure that it's good to actually have an astral body or that it's necessary. And
It's safer.
if
Healthy not to.
if you just disassemble it and just have the other bodies that it's made up of, you're probably a lot better off. But, how do you do that? Let me test, do I have an astral body? See, I get no, actually, that I don't have one, which would be a good thing.
You think people would not get AIDS? Didn't have an astral body?
No, they'd still get it. It goes right into the spiral body. It has nothing to do with the astral body. But what she was really talking about was the gravitational and spiral bodies, and etheric bodies picking things up, and especially, certainly the etheric body, and things that get into the etheric body can tend to go into the gravitational and spiral bodies, and then even into the celestial body. And also she was, one of the other things she said in that conversation, by the way, was don't sleep on the floor. Because in those, it was the hippie era, and a lot of people would sleep on the floor, and she said never sleep on the floor, because all the astral junk floats down to the floor. And there's all kinds of little, like, roaches and creatures and so on.
Uh-huh. When I got fleas, it was on the floor.
Right.
I was a hippie.
So, Michael, back to you. Got anything interesting that you're cognating here?
Well, I'm trying to absorb and understand what you're saying. I got part of it. When you talk about the different bodies, I don't know that I can totally understand what each body is, but I feel like I have them all, and I'm testing that I have them all, and that I'm not sure if it's the same as the bodies you're describing, but I feel like I have several layers of fairly rigid protection around me.
Right.
Which is one reason why I use my intellect a lot, to argue my positions, because I really, I shield myself a lot, and I'm not that open to change. I'm like I've developed my positioning, which I'm comfortable with, and so my bodies are kind of rigid. Okay, so I'm trying to understand what the bodies are, and how to really relate that to what I'm testing on here. But I'm testing maybe you can interpret it. I'm testing that I'm not very malleable. I'm very rigid in my positioning and my viewpoints and that kind of thing.
You know what? I want to give Franny, Ross.
Yeah?
Oh, there's. Hey, Barb.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to give all of you time right now to discuss what Michael is talking about. Okay? I'm gonna butt out here for like 5 minutes. Let's make it 7 minutes. You guys go ahead and just say what you see.
Were you talking about monogamy?
Well, Michael was
Not
talking
specifically.
about...
Why don't you say, Michael?
What are you talking about? 'Cause I don't understand it.
Was there a specific point about monogamy and, or?
No,
Well, Joe, how would you say it, Michael?
he was saying he has protection. Were you listening?
Protection, right?
Yeah, well, you were talking specifically about monogamy, and I think Barbara showed up. Barbara was asking me what I was experiencing, and we were talking about the body, the different, like a serial and all that. What I'm experiencing is I'm self-aware that I'm very rigid, and I have a lot of layers of protection, and some of my protections are my belief systems, instead of from an intellectual place. And I feel at high risk, like emotional risk, and so I've learned to protect myself emotionally by a number of very rigid layers of protection. And it's very hard for anyone to change my mind about anything, or for me to give up things that I hold dear. So that's what I was noticing.
And we'll test that that's so. That's true.
I'm testing that I have a huge heart, and I have a huge desire for connection and love, and that I have a huge, and it's true that I have layers of protection which are rigid.
And so, but there is I guess it's really, is that desirable would be a question to ask. And, or if there's something else that might be desirable, that protection is there as a reaction. I mean, there's a protection, obviously, if someone's hitting you, you hold your hands up or something. But that seems to be something you've built up, and it's an ongoing protection in case something comes at you. So you're walking around with armor on.
Right, I'm testing that my armor is preventing me from... My armor is what's causing... I'm bringing this full circle back to the question earlier, which is, do I have a... am I not well? Do I have negative being? And the answer is that my negative being is my own doing because of the protection. So I've like polluted my being with my own with protections, which are ostensibly to protect me, but in fact, what they really do is they create negative being and dysfunction within me.
Well, it's so good that you're so responsible.
Yeah.
You really see yourself. You're willing to say this. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, and I'm trying to be the same, attempting to be the same way.
Well, you're honestly trying to make something of your life, Michael.
Yeah.
And that makes you an exciting person. I think that's why Barb likes you so much.
Yes.
Yes.
I test yes on that, and I also test yes that I wouldn't be this way if I didn't know Barb, because Barb has been reminding me for years about what I just said. Because she's seen it in me for years. And she reminds me, she reminds me when she sees me getting in my own way, and and so that, and I wouldn't have this awareness if it wasn't for Barb. So
Good. That's life. See, that's a relationship. There's something, that's what relationships are good for.
Barb is your minister.
oh, she is. And Barb calls it like it is, and she doesn't care whether it bothers me. I mean, if Barb sees me getting in my own way, or she sees me, preaching some intellectual belief, which is, either BS or it's not consistent, or it's just a cover or whatever, she calls it out. She doesn't care if I get mad at her.
So this protection, so you've got it there, and if you say it's a good thing in that it's protecting you, that you like having it there. But is there something detrimental about it also? Is it restricting you?
Yes, absolutely.
So what's the cost? That's what you're saying.
Well, I'll be specific. I like specifics. So here's a specific example. I have decided that that I have no more social life in this town that I live, and that's a protection because I've had experiences which troubled me. So I've had, things have happened to me. I've been hurt. I've been disappointed. I've been angry. People have rejected me, and so I've come to the conclusion that there's no point in me going out and attempting to socialize with anybody. I don't go to parties. I don't go to events. I don't do the stuff that people do in this town. I don't go to I don't go to bars. I don't go to. It's very rare that I do anything. I mostly stay at home and I have a very rigid structure. I have to get at least 2 hours of exercise a day. And I get to get sun if there's sun. I have a whole routine which is highly personalized. And so the result of all that protection and that rigidity is that I feel very isolated. And so my answer to the original question here, do I have a negative being? I feel like I have a negative being because I'm not being satisfied. I'm always feeling like I don't have enough social connection. I don't have enough connection with people. I don't have enough interaction. So I create my own negative being by the very protection mechanisms. You see, so it's a vicious circle.
Well, do you have this protection? Is it because there's is it a deformity? Something's not developed in you that you could have, that would be desirable to have?
Good point.
Like an immunity.
Yeah.
Like an ability to interact with people without that hurt.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I see it totally.
So that, I think, I don't remember exactly the lesson. That short lesson was that what are the conditions blocking that reality? So you actually have a condition that's blocking something you really wanted, that you felt you had with this woman, which died. Like your dream is still there, but that reality kind of died because it's not there. But like you're a human being, you learn, and dang it, maybe it's a little more real the next time and really can work.
I had a dream that I gave up on, and the dream was that I could be a sociable, likable person that interacts with people, like in our prayers, I attract so-and-so, and I attract so-and-so, and I attract fame, and I attract wealth. I gave up on all that, so I'm saying the prayers and I understand the meaning of them, but in my life I gave up on all those things, and I've sort of decided that I don't attract people, and I can't be comfortable in social situations.
Now, Mike, I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt you. Is this really true? Are you testing you really gave up on this? I mean, I hear you saying it, but I'm not going to say anymore. Just test that.
I'm testing that
Yes or no? Just teasing.
Did I really give up on it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, but remember that saying that we have a beginning with the end in mind? So what is your vision of yourself? Like if you were to have it how you saw you could, like what is the end state that you're after? How would you describe yourself? You mean people, how do people feel around you, and how are you around other people? I don't socialize much myself. I kind of feel like that's an accomplishment. Where I got myself to that point where I don't need to or want to. But when I do, I usually have fun. And I notice that when you do, you usually don't, or you get disappointed or hurt or traumatized. Have you ever been to one of my events at my house, like the Tantra events or something around like, Tantra or communication or sexual exploration or something around kind of open sexuality and and have you ever seen me be really happy in one of those events, like in my element, like where I really on?
A couple times,
okay.
yeah.
That's what I want. That's my dream of myself. And Bart's seen it, so
okay, but then you have to realize that that's not for everyone, and so you can't be disappointed when not everyone shows up, or not everyone, Then that seems like what happens to you. And then when you go to some other event that's not like your ideal event, you have a hard time
Exactly.
adjusting or enjoying whatever anybody else. It's like going through a different culture. You don't like other
Right.
cultures.
I get bored really easily. Like
Yeah, and you judge the people and you judge where they're at, and you don't have the skill to convert them to wanting to be.
That's very it. That's
And I think that's what you want. I think you want the skill to recognize where someone's at, where they're, and then assist them in moving towards seeing what you find is so valuable about what you have to offer. Then you get disappointed in yourself that you're not that skilled at that, and then you want to just give it up.
But I'm testing that I actually have that potential to do that.
But yeah, me
And
too.
and for some reason, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's patience. I know that's what I've seen in you over the years, and but I do see that you could get that skill. It just takes like the fear is like not wanting anything. You have to start from not wanting anything, and see what's there, and then just enjoy what's there and cultivate it. It's like planting flowers.
I expect instant results, and if I don't
Yeah, I
get
know.
results, see, that's what the flaw is for me. If I don't get instant results, then I just throw in the towel. It's like
Right.
I don't have patience.
Right.
Well, now they do the opposite.
You should install patience. I know we're.
I need to. Okay, my cure here is I need to install patience.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so
Yeah.
geez, how about doing it? Just go ahead.
Doing it.
See how far you
Doing it.
can install patience, or whatever exactly it is, in the way you want to say it.
I'm installing the ability to not jump to conclusions, the ability to see the big picture,
Perseverance.
perseverance, perseverance.
How about accepting people wherever they're at? And not take it personally. I think you take it personally when people don't, if all of us have been through this with the Munich, but don't get you or don't agree with you.
Right. I have to install Q-tip. Quit taking it personally. If I go to be specific, if I go to a conventional party where everyone's wearing their clothes and no one's touching each other, and I'm envisioning, I wish people would come to a Tantra workshop where we could all interact in a more intimate way. And I walk up to somebody and say, hey, you want to come to my Tantra workshop next Friday? And the person says, no. I feel like a failure. I blew it. I screwed up. I'm being rejected. I gotta know.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Instead of going up to somebody and inviting them to a Tantra workshop, stand on the coffee table and invite everybody to the Tantra workshop. Because then the people who want to go to the Tantra workshop can emerge and say, okay, I'm in, and they can raise the two out of the 50 people at the party, the 2 or 3 people who want to do a Tantra workshop can raise their hands if you do that. But if you only ask one person at a time, you'll never find them.
Yeah.
You'll just ask the wrong person and you'll never find them.
What's that, a microwave?
And we also, I think that we have to, there is something, like when I met Franny, when I first saw Franny, I met Franny at a party. And when I first saw her, I didn't think I didn't think I was that interested in her. But I invited her to go home with me, and she said yes. And I said, well, let's walk a little bit. So we were walking
Well,
down...
you asked me if I was drunk, and I said no.
We were walking down Lexington Avenue, and all of a sudden I started to really feel like Franny was absolutely great. And then when we got to my place and we started having sex, I realized, and there was this moment where I realized that I was going to spend the rest of my life with her. And I had known her maybe an hour, or if that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of funny, isn't it? And Franny has proved herself to be I never could have done any of the things that I've done without Franny. If Franny was not in my life, I would be very different. I probably would have a lot of money, but I never would have accomplished what I've accomplished. No, because that's what I would have done. I just would have. That's what I always did. I always went after money. You know, until like somehow Franny gave me the strength to go after something higher than money, which was what I really wanted to do. But it wasn't that I didn't have the nerve to do it. It was that I didn't have the oomph to do it without the kind of support that she gives me. The question is...
Yeah, but that takes on my part a steadfast... I mean, I have to be steadfast and be there. I can't, you know, I can't be like going...
You wouldn't do that with someone you were just hanging out with.
Franny has a very high selectivity index, which, if she had a low workability index, would make her a witch. But because she has a very high workability index, it makes her a world-changing person. Interesting, huh?
And it's the same way I pick with Greg. I just stick with him, no matter what.
Selectivity is a very powerful thing to have if you have other indexes that are high to balance it. And if not, then you don't want it to be so high. But that's the question. How did I end up with Franny and you ended up with this woman who dumped you in 4 years? And for that matter, how did I end up with Franny and then go with somebody else, get a second girlfriend? Franny got a second boyfriend and she ended up with her second boyfriend and I ended up with nobody. Basically, even though I still live with Franny, we're not, together anymore as significant others, as you might call it, whatever.
Well, I think Franny was still with you, and you went off and you were with a lot of people.
That's right.
And she got stuck with you, and then finally she said, well...
Yeah, but she always...
I'm going to actually make something that really sticks.
From the beginning, though, when I was with other people, Franny would always get herself another boyfriend, too. Which was good,
I want to go back to Michael for a minute, if you don't mind.
No, go.
And, Michael, test if this is a symptom of yours, that you investigate something, you observe it, you think about it, you test about it, you get conclusions, you get philosophies, you get good feelings, and that you see things to do, and then you don't follow through. And actually, you like that activity and that knowledge, a sort of self-knowledge, but you hold that to yourself, again, as somewhat a protection. And when you actually test to install it, do you really install it, or you just kind of look at it? Do you actually make the change? That's a mouth load, I know. Mouthful.
No, I understand the question. I'm testing on that question.
Or maybe part of it, the part that means something to you there.
The answer is that I have a buffer between the realization
Yeah.
and actually making a change. There's a middle holding ground. And so I do what you just described, which is I'll understand that, I'll look at myself, I'll see what I could install or what I could remove, and I'll see what the cure is, but then I don't do it. I might even say, okay, I'm doing it, but I'm not actually doing it yet.
Yeah.
I'm putting into this area of this consideration buffer, and then it might or might not happen later. So that's I see that clearly.
Yeah. So it's like that. What was the thing you call it, Franny? Failure to launch or something like that?
Failure to launch.
I know that because I have similar. I just want to hang on to it because I know that I can do that. I can start it because I feel good having that around me.
And I'll tell you why it works this way. Because I'm very aware and I'm very conscious. Now I could understand that somebody who never realized they were doing something.
Sorry, Barb, you have to go on mute.
She's on mute.
Okay.
Go ahead, Michael.
I could understand how someone who was unaware of what they were doing, who suddenly became aware of it might have no resistance to making a change, but see, I'm very aware, and I know I'm onto myself. And if I'm not onto myself, Barbara's onto me. And so there's really nothing that I discover it's very rare that I discover something for the first time about what I'm doing. So the point is that the stuff I do because I'm highly invested in doing it. And so even when here at Tear Drive meetings, what I do, the little games I play or the protections I have, or the dysfunctions that I have, even though they might come to the surface, I'm quite invested in them. So that's why I don't just give them up right away. I have to overcome a lot of investment and resistance.
Michael, I want to ask you to test something. Ask, is Tantra my religion?
No.
Okay. I was just wondering, because it is a religion.
I don't see it as religion, and I don't identify 100% with Tantra, but I think that... Yeah, go ahead. Pardon. No.
I was going to say, that's one of the reasons I think you haven't, I don't think you relate to it as a religion. You relate to it as another vehicle to get what you want with, and that's might have been a drawback for some people. Like, there's got to be a way for you to get what you want without, it doesn't depend on other people. Because Tantra is is a religion, that's from my understanding. It's another practice. It's like harmonic action.
It's a form of yoga. So yoga's a religion.
Right.
But most people don't use it as a religion, they use it as an exercise program.
Yeah, but to Michael, it's a way for him often, or I think people perceive it as a way for him to be, behave and be in a lifestyle that suits him. Like he gets to not wear clothes, or he gets to be physical with people, and stuff with things that he likes to do. So it's like like a venue for that to happen. But then what's the value of it gets lost sometimes. That what's supposed to be transferred, I think, and then it sort of gets diluted. So it's almost like you're not trying to give people Tantra, you're trying to get people to come to give you something.
Okay, well here, let's go back to basics.
Yeah.
We're having, the theme of this meeting is this skill, the 3 spiritual diseases.
Yeah.
And they are negative beingness, deformity, and conditions. And
Okay.
And what we're seeing here, number one, is that curing them isn't fast, like killing a virus.
Yeah.
No.
Like, it's not like curing your herpes where you take the herpes out and, you may have to keep checking for it, but you'll never have another outbreak. This is, you're going to have another outbreak in 10 minutes after you... So the minute you take your attention off it, you will snap back into these, whatever they are, whether it's conditions or negative beingness, doesn't even matter that much.
Right.
And so that's one thing. Another thing is that these things are, ultimately they kill you physically, and interimly they change you into somebody who you're not. And that's the thing, maybe, Michael, what you've been saying through this whole meeting, like the theme of it, if I just put it into different words, it's you're saying that this isn't you. Whatever it is we're seeing isn't you. That you are in there, inside of those layers of protection. And who knows, if you weren't inside of those layers of protection, how you would set your life up or what you would do. Nobody knows. All we know is what we see you doing and the way we see you setting up your life. So
Well, that's why I was telling you, Michael, you have to find the root cause. You can't just change behavior. That doesn't do you any good.
And that's another thing. Nobody's asking you to change your behavior. that's not going to help, because you'll just be sick but behaving differently. What you need to do is cure this, and then you'll see how you feel like behaving.
And you'll see, yeah, and right. You may be very much the same, just feel different.
And the way you cure this or work on it is you do a lot of testing with unusual questions. Like, you know the question I asked you a few minutes ago, is Tantra your religion?
Right.
Those are the kinds of questions that you have to think of. Because, you know, suppose you had gotten yes on that. Well, when people do, like what we're doing now is a religion. This is a religious practice. Except in this religion, people don't give up their usual religion. They just add this in. So if they're Jews, they continue being Jews, and so on. Like presumably Christians would use this to channel Jesus, and which is what a lot of Christians are trying to do anyway. You know, there's Christians that I've talked to, one of the things that they do is they open the Bible at random.
Yeah.
And then they like sort of close their eyes and they run their finger through it and they see where their finger lands and they read the quote and they use that as information. Well, what they're doing is getting a signal. It's the same thing. It's a different form of testing. They're testing, just like we're doing when we use our fingers.
So the form may be different, and it looks different. People can argue about the form, but the main thing is they're testing and actually hopefully curing.
People want God to tell them what to do.
Right. But that middle ground you're talking about, that's the safety, there's something underneath that you're protecting that I don't think you even know what it is.
Well,
and it's very painful.
But
That might be trauma-based.
that you feel it, but you may not know what it is. So you don't know. You'd rather have what you have now than what you don't know.
That's familiar. That's if it's trauma-based.
That's just too simplistic.
But
It probably has trauma base and other bases. And
yeah.
Ask if there's any other way you could get what you're getting without.
Michael,
there is something there. There's something that's blocking me, and there's something and I'm not. I can't figure it out right now, but I'm testing yes, there's something there. I'm testing yes that if I removed it, then I don't know exactly what the behavior would be. I don't know exactly how I would change my behavior.
Right.
And I'm also testing that one way to proceed for me would be to install perseverance and patience and to remove impatience and quick judgment, because that's the mechanism by which my protection mechanism works the way that I described. There's something that I feel I want, but I'm not willing to work to get it. I'm not willing to take the time and exercise the patience to get it, so I give up really quickly, then I don't get it. And then I'm stuck. So that's
But wait, but also
You're not going to get it. It's just that you're not willing. You're afraid for something. You have this negative beingness. You have a negative view of life that you're not going to get.
Right. Exactly.
I also think you're really hard on yourself, because you ought to also give yourself some credit for. Like I found to see you as that kind of person. You don't really give up. Sometimes you give up emotionally, but you don't really give up.
I just tested for myself, and I was asking, am I getting anything? And I get no. And then I asked, do I need to get anything? And I got no. And I'm not conscious of wanting to get anything. So therefore, maybe the whole issue of getting something is a paper tiger.
Right. And this thing about behavior is the same way. You don't have to know your behaviors. You don't have to behave anyway. You have to be yourself. so you just uncover yourself, and there you are. And if you feel this way, you feel this way. And you go, oh, that's functional, or there's something wrong. Then there's something else to check. You're on the road rather than stuck in a ditch.
Yeah, and you can never figure out, relationships, you can never figure out what to do in relationships that are going to make them better. It's just, that's one thing I learned a long time ago.
Start these things back. Yeah, that's true. You can't figure it out, you just have to go and do and be and...
You just try things, but you can't figure it out ahead of time because it usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
The thing I'm doing with Franny is we're just asking questions and testing and seeing where it goes. It's not about, oh, you were bad. I mean, there was maybe the things that are bad, but that's not the point. It's
oh,
like,
you were bad. Just
I was
kidding.
bad, but
I was too.
You know, what's going on? What's the story? Anyway? You got it.
It's not, also, this isn't about behavior, actually. It's more like about shape. That's a hard concept, but our lives are shaped in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, I do the things I do all day because of the shape of my life. And I like the shape of my life. And that's what the real question is, how do you like the shape of your life? Like, when you were saying, like, you have no social life in Santa Fe anymore. Interesting. You know, that's the shape of your life you're talking about.
It's also your old life. It's the people, the way you did act, and not the way you're acting now. It's just...
What's the way that I did act?
Your social life, you're thinking about the social life you were used to, and not, no longer have a social life. Well, that's because you're not having a social life. You can have a social life at any time, just by talking to the person right there next to you.
Yeah, it seems like I...
blow your mind a little bit with this.
This is good. This is good. I think that I need to remove this tendency to obscure what I in fact have. It's like, here I am telling you I don't have a social life, and yet there were 4 people in the house this morning, there were 3 people in the house last night. First time I'm in a meeting with all you guys.
Well, I think it's you looking at the positive side. It's just a habit you have of looking what you're...
That's the negative.
Back, it's a habit.
You're
see the
negative about things, and you just
negative,
and you throw yourself into it, and you reinforce it. That's because you've got it. It feels good to have a bad feeling because you've got something and you're feeling something. Oh boy, that's good. I'm feeling something. I feel shitty, but I'm good. Try not having just having whatever feeling you have, and that doesn't have to make anything. Just like, oh, I'm blah. I have no feelings right now.
It is a new habit.
Life.
To develop, to see what's positive or to be grateful and all that kind of stuff. You have so many great things. Anyway, go ahead. Did I interrupt you? Yeah, because I noticed you had the girls there last night, and
yeah. Well, Greg, you said something that kept true to me, which is
feelings.
That I'm an intense person, and I like intensity, and I like I desire my life to be shaped where there's a lot of intensity.
Yeah.
And when I don't feel the intensity, I'd rather feel negative intensity than no intensity. And so if I'm feeling bored or if I'm feeling blah, I don't like it, and so I create negative intensity. It's like, oh wow, this is my social life sucks, and I get all worked up and intense around that, and that feels better to me than just sitting here bored.
Yes, but
Greg just hit a really good thing. Yeah.
You're making drama. You're making enough intensity. Rather than just being, I'm clear, I walk around, I see this person, you're intense, and you deal with people the way you deal with. And some people you'll hit it off with, and millions of people you won't. And for 2,000 people around that you know that you really hit it off with, maybe 3 of them you really, really know, and some are going to be your best friends, just naturally. Right. You don't have to make it all up. and think about it so much.
It also felt like it reflects to be creative, like think about what you could create rather than what's not there. You have so many resources. Like what can I make happen? What could I offer? What could I give to somebody? What could I create? You know?
I was real, and we're gonna end in a moment or two, but what I was realizing is that the thing, like you say, you like intensity. The thing that I like is emptiness. And like I was talking to Anna on the phone yesterday, and while I was rebounding, and all of a sudden I said to her, like, we were talking about what we like, and I told her this. I said I like emptiness, and I said you know that the pool cage is empty. You know, like there's an empty space that's defined by the pool cage, and so if I'm out there rebounding, looking at the pool cage, I enjoy just looking at the emptiness, and through the screen I can look out and see the sky and the trees across the street, and it's all just empty. And that's the way reality looks to me, you know. Reality looks empty. Like I can look at a tree or a patch of forest or something where the patterns that you know light makes when it hits leaves, and that seems empty to me, and I like that. Mm-hmm. You know, I could just be very happy, like staring at or looking at and being in emptiness. That's what my photographs are. That's what I photograph when I take pictures. You know, I try to photograph the nothingness. So anyway,
Fired as you're speaking, I'm testing that I like emptiness too, but for me, emptiness is a sort of, it might seem paradoxical, it's a sort of intensity. For example, if I'm standing at the edge of a huge cliff looking out of this incredible valley with it's just quiet and there's nothing happening, it's just this big space, to me that's a very intense experience. And in a way it's emptiness because it's like nothing there. Yeah, it's very intense, and I also like the intensity of like, say, where there's intense sexual energy flying amongst people. But what I don't like is the in-between. So, like, for example, earlier at the beginning of this meeting, I had 3 other people in the house who were chit-chatting. To me, it was boring. Everything they were talking about was boring. And so that made me very uncomfortable because there was stuff in the way of my emptiness and stuff in the way of my intensity because I couldn't be intense about superficial talk.
Well, let me give you a tip. When you're around people, if you get them to test things, if they're doing boring chit-chatting,
right,
they will empty immediately, and they'll be really wonderful. They change into like really amazing, wonderful people. It's what happened with our dogs. Our dogs became wonderful. They were probably just ordinary dogs before we got them, but because they were our dogs, they became wonderful.
They came in their full dogdom.
And also you've given like there's another aspect to this lesson, which is that all of us, and meaning like you can see it in the people on the call, like I could see it in you, but then there are all the people who are not on the call, and they have this too, is that we are both completely well and clear, and also we are dysfunctional and sick simultaneously. And what we're enabling ourselves to do by testing things, removing things, knowing things we wouldn't have known, is we're actually, like just accelerating or accentuating that of us which is this empty, clear kind of thing. Because I was, like when you were talking about how you like, yes, I agree with you. Emptiness is intensity. That's right. It's very, and see, that I think you could see that in my photographs. Like I find these places of like maximal emptiness, and that's where they're intense. I took a photograph. Somebody was saying, "What is this a picture of?" And, you know, because it looked like it was a picture of a palmetto, and I framed the palmetto pretty good, you know. But it was actually, what the picture was, it was a swarm of bugs.
Huh.
The bugs were in front of the palmetto, and you could barely see them, but the light was glinting off them. And that was intense. Swarming bugs are always intense. So, anybody else want to say anything?
Oh, wow.
Ross, you haven't said much during this meeting. What's going? Tell us what you're experiencing.
I've been listening, and it's very interesting. And I didn't know Michael that well, and now I think I know him a little better.
You know, it really always helps to get into the other guy's point of view, doesn't it?
Sure, yes, it's very useful.
Yeah.
It's always a good experience because you learn.
Yep. Well, I thank all of you for your wonderful friendship and participation and love and caring and involvement, and for giving this to the people who are going to watch this movie. I really appreciate the gift that you've given them by sharing yourselves with them like this.
Touchdown! Go back!
Okay. Good night, everyone.
In viral.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Intangible world.
Bart, hang on for a minute.
That's why I like the Backers, because when you spend your life doing stuff like this and there's no real score, it's third dimensional activity.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so frustrating. Yeah, thanks for showing up, Mikey. When I think of all the people.
Mike, great to talk.
Wait, Barb, what's frustrating?
I was saying, like when I do so much of this work, like where there's really no big end point, we just kind of leave this open-ended. There's no tangible score all the time.
Well,
Greg teases me about liking the Packers. I think that's why I like.
Oh, I love the Packers.
It's so opposite. It's so third-dimensional.
When I
Personally,
was growing up, I lived in Baltimore. My cousin was from Milwaukee, and he came to live with us in high school for a little while. And I had the Baltimore Colts, and it was the Packers. And you know, the last time the Packers beat the Colts in Baltimore, and now it's the Ravens.
So we just beat Baltimore last week.
Yeah, that was the first time in like, I don't know how many years, in the 90s or something.
Forever.
Do you know Maribeth Waltman?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
She signed up for a subscription.
She did?
Yeah.
She's from Appleton, Wisconsin.
I know, because I was saying, where is she from?
My gosh.
And
Good, I have a call, and now I have a reason to live at Doc's office. Wow.
here's her site. There was somewhere was her site that here's a contact number for her.
Well, I'm going to call. Send it to me. I'm going to call her.
Can I just give it to you? I can put it. You're on Skype. I'll just copy and put it on
Okay.
Skype right now.
Well, that's good.
Thing here.
I think it'd be, like, how did it go last night with Melody and Poppy? Did they ever get a signal, Mikey? Were they able
Oh, yeah, you know what happened? Yeah, I should mention this before we go. After the meeting ended, I said, okay, you guys, just like we promised, let's practice testing a little bit. I'll try to get signals. And we wound up getting into a 2-hour thing, and it turned into, you know, we're talking about, Poppy was like testing about her relationship, and
Oh, wow.
It was great. Yeah.
Cool.
well, I'll tell you personally, for me there's a score because I feel relaxed, happy, fulfilled, and I feel like I've done a day's work. So I am giving myself a lot of credit for what I've achieved today, personally. And will continue to do so after we hang up.
Well, it's afternoon, so I guess I'm daunted by the rest of the day. Okay.
Let's...
Well, here's what I'm left, really quickly, I'm left with this. This fascination with the idea that emptiness is intensity. And I'm like, what would I like seek out this emptiness?
let's link our celestial bodies now. Everybody, I'm linking my celestial body with yours. This is the Cure Drive Cult homepage. You can see we tally our cures. That's the tally there, 132,000. You report your cures here, right here. That's the link. to report your cure. Okay, this is the movie that people start with generally. And there's a lot of people actually curing things on camera in this movie and demonstrating exactly how to do it. It's 4.5 hours. So you would be able to probably understand and know what these people are doing by watching this. We are a cult because we're all over the world. Maybe one person in a town, just one little guy who cures things in a whole town full of people who don't, whose spouse thinks she's crazy because she's curing things and he doesn't. She doesn't get sick and he's down with the flu for 5 days and he still thinks she's crazy. We've had spouses die. So this person is demonstrating curing herpes in this movie, the one you're watching right there. And it goes on like that. Now, these are the people here. You see this black area here? This is our Twitter feed. These are the people you want to talk to. And what you do, see, it says follow Cure Drive. And that's what you do. You click on that, and then you pick somebody. Anybody in here will be happy to help you. So you write to people that you see in here. And there's all these people all talking about what they're curing. So that's what you do. You pick somebody that that seems like a kindred spirit, presumably, and you write to them. See that picture of the cat there? That's Rosella. She's one of the people whose spouse died. He was a very great guy. He just thought it was nuts. Never did it. Died of cancer. Not too long ago, about 2 months ago. So anyway, you just, you write to somebody and, tell them what you, are trying to do. People are always asking about negative medical tests. Here, let me show you. This is a voicemail message. You should probably, if you're interested in getting a negative medical test on, let's say, herpes, she got negative medical tests and both kinds of herpes. And she left me this message when she got her letter from the, hospital, I guess. She was in New Zealand. So her tests are free. Now, of course, there's an enormous website behind this homepage. I guess you're probably guessing, right? And if you see these movies, these are all people demonstrating curing various diseases. This is these people chose to contribute their cures to your effort to cure yourself. There are around, I guess, over 800 movies, and some of them are linked to this page. So if you click on any one of these pictures, it will go to a movie and that movie will start playing. So join the cult. Your friends will be worried about you. You're in a cult, they'll be worried. You have the crazy idea that you can cure medically incurable diseases. They're going to be very concerned. Especially if you're battling cancer. Your friends will be worried, and that's a good thing. You will cure things. and that is also a very good thing. You will begin curing things the moment you join, because that's how you join. You cure something. When you cure something, you're in the cult. If you want to get out of the cult, just stop curing things. You won't be in the cult anymore. Easy to exit. Your easy exit strategy. And who knows? You may even cure the medically incurable disease that you came in here to cure. A lot of us did. That's me there in the movie holding forth on how to cure things. I'm on the cure team. That's what I did. I cured a medically incurable disease. Two of them actually. So I cured 2 kinds of herpes. It was about 4 months after I started doing this that I actually discovered, I'm the person who discovered that you could cure physical diseases. July 1993, my 20th anniversary just passed. I haven't had an outbreak of herpes for 20 years, and before that I was having outbreaks for 28 years. I got herpes in 1965. The end of the year. 28 years of outbreaks followed by 20 years of no outbreaks. That's how bad it can be and how good it can be if you let it be good. So, take the courageous step that almost everyone you know will advise you not to take. Join the cult. When you're in the cult, your friends will get sick and you will get well. Your friends will give sympathy and you will give cure. And you'll know that you don't even need to take a vitamin pill to cure something. You can just cure it with nothing. Just with you. What can you contribute? What will your contribution be? This woman is curing a flu right on camera. She came in with full symptoms and they were all gone in 15 minutes. You can see it happen. Flu is an incurable viral-based disease. It's medically incurable. She cures it right in front of you. We eagerly await your contribution. And here they are, eagerly awaiting your contribution. And anything that you say to any of these people will probably be a contribution of some kind.